Austin, my husband, left me and our newborn twins because of his mother's demands, a wound deeper than any physical pain I've experienced. I vividly recall that morning as though it happened yesterday. As his family's mansion loomed like a cold stone fortress with manicured gardens, reflective of the icy words his mother uttered. Austin was in their main living room, then, cowed by his mother's commanding voice, which had dictated his life. Her words were razor-sharp when she claimed I was never good enough for him, saying I lacked lineage, a family name, and a position befitting their dynasty. I realize now that Austin loved me, or perhaps still does, but his mother's shadow eclipsed any love we shared. She controlled everything, the family fortune, the business, making it plain that her legacy outweighed her son's happiness. As she traced the fine china teacup delicately, she insisted it was for his welfare, protecting their future. She warned that staying with me would ruin all they had built, saying I didn't belong in their world. I can still see Austin, unable to meet her gaze, each word further crushing him into submission. Trapped between the life we had as husband and wife and the world of wealth and power, he couldn't escape. When he whispered, "This isn't fair," she merely raised an eyebrow. Saying fairness was a luxury he couldn't afford, demanding he make a choice, her words descending upon him like a judge's gavel. At their grand window, overlooking the garden, she declared I could never provide what he needed or deserved, insisting family was all that mattered, and everything else was temporary, including me. Later, I realized how Austin felt the constriction in his throat as he struggled with the decision. The happiness we shared seemed distant by then. I was different from the women in his social circles. He was captivated by my laughter and worldview. When our twins were born, Austin's life appeared complete, or so he said. But that day, everything crumbled before us. I remember Austin standing in our apartment, burdened, before leaving his mother's mansion that morning where she delivered her parting blow, saying money could buy many things, but not second chances. These words pierced his heart, forever etched in his memory as he left that threshold. Hours later, Austin arrived at our modest apartment with our newborn twins. A far cry from his accustomed luxury, but filled with life and love. Upon entering, the first sounds were our twins' soft cries and my voice soothing them. I noticed his weary smile when he saw me and called out to him, holding one of our babies, my heart full of joy at his return. "We've been waiting for you," I said, trusting him completely. Austin swallowed hard, looking at me, tired but radiant, eyes falling to the baby in my arms. How could he contemplate abandoning his children, his blood? I would later wonder. His mother's words, unbeknownst to me, hung over him like a dark cloud. While I happily recounted our twins' adventures that day, he only heard his mother's voice echoing in his mind, urging choice. Every word I spoke seemed to make him shrink, feeling unworthy. Finally, unable to endure it, he interrupted, "Amanda, we need to talk," his voice laden with guilt. I looked at him, slightly worried, still naive to the storm brewing. We sat on the sofa. Austin drew a deep breath, chest heaving with the words about to change our lives. "I can't do this," he said, avoiding eye contact, repeating, "I can't continue," voice barely above a whisper. Confused, heart racing, I asked, "What do you mean?" watching him clench fists to steady them. Then, the words shattered my world. He couldn't be with me anymore, his mother was right. I didn't fit into his world. We weren't meant to be. A deafening silence filled our small apartment as I stared in disbelief, breath ragged, struggling against tears. "Your mother," I echoed, voice trembling with hurt. "You're leaving because of her?" I managed, words like glass cutting. Austin stood silent, eyes unable to justify actions, no strength to defy his mother's will, only hanging his head and walking toward the door. He mumbled, without a backward glance at us. The door's closing echoed through our small apartment. A world stopped as his words left, freezing me with our twins. The tears I'd held back streamed down, soaking my blouse, struggling to process it all. The silence resumed, heavy, until one twin cried, sensing sorrow. hugging my baby close for warmth and comfort. Taking deep breaths, I fought to keep from breaking completely in front of my children, who needed me strong. Time passed, minutes or hours, before I could stand, weak but knowing I couldn't show vulnerability. For my children, moving forward one step at a time was essential. At the crib, I stroked the tiny head of my other baby as thoughts flooded. Austin's promises, the assurance we'd always be together, a family built, all vanished like smoke. The weeks that followed Austin's exit were the harshest I'd faced. Nights seemed endless with baby's cries mingled with my tears, loneliness suffocating. Each day was a battle. Feeding twins, changing diapers, housework barely left me breath. Yet a fierce inner flame ignited. Staying trapped in pain was impossible. They depended on me. Life wasn't giving me a break, and easy surrender wasn't in my nature. The void left was enormous. Understanding a need to move forward grew inside. One morning watching my twins sleep, something shifted. They deserved better opportunities, despite Austin's alternate path. I was resolute in not letting his absence define our future. Driven, I sought work, knowing it wouldn't be easy. The job market was cruel to single mothers without experience. Days filled with resume submissions, interviews, rejections, but undeterred. Every obstacle overcame, I grew stronger, though often nights were exhausting and sorrowful. Still, each afternoon moved me further along. After a disappointing interview, I found a small flicker of hope from an unexpected place. Seeking clarity, I walked into a nearby cafe to reflect. It was a moment to contemplate my lifelong dream of having something truly my own. As I leisurely enjoyed my coffee, an idea began to form in my mind. Launching my own business could not only generate income, but also restore a sense of direction in my life. While I was aware it wouldn't come easily, and intense dedication was required, I had already experienced significant loss, making me fearless to embrace risks. Over the next few weeks, I immersed myself in planning, focusing on my secret passion, creating customized children's clothing for online sale. Late nights were spent working while my kids slept, designing, sourcing suppliers, and carefully piecing together my brand. Gradually, day by day, the project took form, and with each progress, I felt myself getting closer to a goal bigger than I had ever envisioned. The initial months were exhausting, struggling to juggle childcare and my work, at times feeling burdened by the world. But when I felt the urge to quit, I saw my twins, reminding me why I was striving so hard, my source of strength and inspiration to forge ahead. Slowly, the sacrifices started yielding results. The online shop's popularity grew, orders surged, and what began as an unrealistic dream was becoming a concrete reality. I was transforming from a single mother to a successful entrepreneur, turning my deepest agony into an opportunity to reinvent myself. With the expansion of the business, my confidence soared. Each minor success fortified my resolve, transforming once overwhelming obstacles into distant memories. No longer just a woman abandoned and deep in despair, I emerged as a strong mother ready to face any challenge life presented. Austin's betrayal had ceased to be central to my world. My children, my achievements, and my relentless drive had molded a better me, and those scars stayed as a testament to my journey. Each morning felt different, the air refreshed as if signaling an inner transformation. The gentle breeze through my window was my companion as I sat in my small study, the twins still asleep, cherishing these peaceful intermissions within the whirlwind of daily chaos. The increasing order numbers on my computer screen symbolized satisfied customers and tangible validation of my hard work. Naming my store My Little Miracles after my twins who reignited my motivation couldn't have been more apt, as through them I unearthed strength I wasn't aware of. The business began modestly, but word of mouth led mothers to discover my unique and customized designs. My Little Miracles became popular, amplified by social media. Gratifying messages and photos of smiling babies donning my creations flooded in from across the nation. Slowly, my dream was unfolding into reality. Success didn't come without toil. Dawn revealed weary nights and anxiety-laden evenings over fulfilling each order, yet the price felt worth it. When exhaustion enveloped me, I recalled the days post-Austin's departure when everything seemed insurmountable, but here I stood, progressing as an entrepreneur, a mother, and a woman. The doubts and fears that once immobilized me no longer held sway. With a deep sigh, I closed my eyes briefly, basking in the quiet of morning, allowing myself a smile. It was hard-earned. I had labored through every adversity, fighting tirelessly to finally savor success. My children were thriving, and I had established something providing future security and filling me with pride. Hours later, as laughter filled the room with my twins' voices waking up, I marveled at our journey. Fear of the future had evaporated. I was prepared for any challenge, equipped with the tenacity of someone who endured worse and rose victorious. The afternoons swiftly approached, marked by an important interview with a local magazine intrigued by my story. It was my chance to inspire other trapped women just as I had once been. Dressing carefully, realizing this interview wasn't just about the business, but also a testament to my accomplishments. The mirror reflected a transformed woman, no longer the anxious young lady mourning Austin's abandonment, now replaced by resilience and determination. The interview went well. The conversation flowed naturally beyond the business, revealing my personal journey without shying from difficult times or glossing over the pain of abandonment. I emphasized the importance of perseverance, finding reasons to move forward when all seemed lost. The reporter surprised me with her final question. If I could change anything since Austin left, after consideration, I replied with a gentle smile, declining the idea because every event had shaped my present. Without that pain, I wouldn't have discovered the woman I had become. Sometimes, I added, through loss, we understand what truly matters. My words lingered like a powerful declaration encapsulating all I had learned. After the interview ended and the studio door closed, I felt lighter. I had expressed my truth, a potent force. And the past, Austin's choices, and unfulfilled possibilities mattered no longer. Only the present, which now belonged to me and my children, held significance. Upon returning home, my twins rushed to me joyfully, underscoring the beauty of life. Each day presented new chances for growth, learning, and happiness. Sitting on the floor with my children, overwhelming gratitude flooded me. Life had offered more than I ever imagined in its unique way. Finally, I comprehended that needing others for completion was unnecessary. I authored my destiny, shining brighter than ever, confronting fears and constructing my future confidently. Observing life through Austin's lens, despite his luxurious lifestyle. A void persistently ached, a lack of essential meaning despite all material possessions. His mansion, with expansive windows and immaculate gardens, paradoxically felt confining. I later discovered Austin felt stifled, wandering endless hallways, haunted by echoes of his footsteps, questioning the value of wealth and power against all he sacrificed. Sleepless nights lay heavy, his luxurious beddings providing no solace, consumed by thoughts of me and our children's growth. Fearful of confronting the reality, he buried such thoughts deep, as acknowledgement would mean facing his errors. His mother persistently reminded him to focus on. She frequently reminded him of his destined greatness, assuring him the legacy was his alone, provided he stayed focused. To her, I and the children were merely distractions. For years, her dominant voice had overshadowed his existence, though recently, he began to doubt if all his sacrifices for her were truly worthwhile. Observing the family business thrive, he felt an elusive something slipping away despite his material gains. One afternoon in his study, surrounded by costly art and designer furniture, a restless emptiness consumed him. He impulsively turned on the TV, seeking distraction. Shock gripped him as he saw me on screen, confidently discussing my children's clothing brand, My Little Miracles. Austin stopped, captivated by my newfound calm strength, a stark contrast to my former self. While I recounted starting from scratch with our children, His heart ached not for my business success, but my evident happiness with our children, proud of raising them without him. I expressed my dedication to my children, my greatest motivation. The footage of our twins playing carefree in a park pierced his heart. The children were thriving without him, and I, abandoned, had found my stride. Regret gripped him as my TV smile underscored the life he'd missed. Was it his mother's control or his own choices that led him astray? Watching, he saw a stranger in his own success, realizing his possessions were hollow compared to his losses. Though he turned the TV off angrily, our image stayed with him. Standing by his window, he pondered his life's worth without us. Despite his lavish lifestyle, he felt incompleteness. The lack of fulfillment his mother's approval brought him became clear. As time wore on, the weight of his errors became even more unbearable. He sat in his dim living room, surrounded by opulence that held no value now, face to face with a photograph from better times. The day he left us replayed in his mind, with my tearful plea unanswered and the twins' cries ignored. Now, he fully understood the depth of his mistake. Guilt gnawed at him day and night. He paced restlessly, driven by the need to atone but unsure how. Reaching a breaking point, he realized he couldn't live with the regret without trying to set things right, even if forgiveness seemed impossible. He relinquished luxury's comfort, left his mansion alone, and drove through the night towards my simpler neighborhood. The contrast with his former life was stark, but the warmth absent from his mansion adorned these humble streets. Anxiety weighed heavy as he parked outside my building. Finally, steeling himself, he approached my door and hesitated. The decision to ring the intercom came with a pounding heart, each second stretching endlessly. When I answered, he faced a different woman, stronger, indifferent, and no longer reliant on him. Calling his name coldly, I witnessed his struggle for words. Asked for a reason for his visit. My distant tone mirrored the indifference in my eyes. In a strained voice, he mentioned seeing the interview, the children's happiness, while trying to maintain composure. My expression unchanged, I responded with a simple yes, followed by stating we had found happiness without him. My words struck hard, but he knew it was his doing. He hadn't just left us. He forced us to find our own way forward. Something he finally understood was beyond redemption. Austin stood before me, struggling to meet my eyes, muttering that he had made a mistake and shouldn't have left. I quietly acknowledged that I knew, but reminded him that we couldn't turn back time. He chose his path, and we had to move on without him. He wasn't here to beg forgiveness or try to reclaim what we once had. Tears were in his eyes, but he fought them back, understanding that returning to the past was impossible. The heavy silence of the night was only broken by Austin's faltering words. I remained unwavering, defined by the clarity in my eyes. Anger and resentment had no place here. The decision to move forward without Austin, made months ago, was more certain than ever. His struggle to find words was apparent, the weight of his errors pressing down on him. I was no longer the fragile woman he had left. Pain had transformed me into someone stronger and more complete. Austin's voice shook as he offered an apology that crumbled from his lips, wanting me to know his remorse. After a moment of contemplation, my expression showed neither hatred nor forgiveness, as I calmly told him there was no need to apologize. The past couldn't be changed, and my words cut deep, but he knew I was right. Any attempt to fix it was futile. Still, Austin felt the need to explain, clearing the guilt that haunted him for months. With shame in his eyes, he confessed acting out of fear, influenced by his mother's threats. He said he never stopped thinking about me and our children, yet his words no longer held power over me. I laughed bitterly, disbelief in my voice, questioning if he truly thought it would change anything. I reminded him that he couldn't reclaim the lost time. I told him he couldn't change the nights I spent alone raising our twins while he lived in luxury. I watched Austin accept the harsh truths as tears began to fall. He begged for another chance, promising change, but my eyes softened only with certainty. Though tempted to offer redemption, I couldn't allow it. Firmly, I told him there was no role for him in our lives anymore. Trust was impossible because he abandoned us when we needed him most. Our children were happy without him, not needing a stranger in their lives who chose wealth over family. Every moment spent away from us, every decision for riches, led him here to loss. His love might still exist, but it meant nothing now. I had rebuilt my life. He was just a shadow of the past. Defeated, he asked if there was anything he could do, but I shook my head gently. It wasn't about his actions now, it was about choices already made. The cold night heightened his shiver, not from the chill, but from reality. He hoped to find redemption, a second chance, yet found only barriers. He had lost everything, the closed doors a testament. I expressed a final goodwill, hoping he'd find what he sought, but made it clear it wasn't with us. Watching him absorb the pain, I knew there was nothing else he could say. Alone in the dark, I stepped back and closed the door. Through its window, I saw Austin standing there, realizing everything precious was gone. The mansion, inheritance, and mother's false promises were meaningless. Each step back to his car seemed heavy, the streetlights blurred by tears and my words echoing in his mind. On his drive back, the mansion must have felt endless, the harsh truth lingering. Upon arrival, the iron gates opened slowly, their weight reflecting his emptiness. That grand home with its imposing presence now felt cold and meaningless. Austin, in weary acceptance, entered to find his mother sitting as always, superior in demeanor. She inquired more from curiosity than accusation where he had been. He dropped his keys, sitting heavily, and finally confessed he had come to see me. Momentary surprise crossed her face, quickly masked. She coldly reminded him I was no longer part of his life, insisting that leaving was the right choice. Austin, newly aware of all he sacrificed under her influence, questioned what he gained from wealth and solitude. Waves of frustration built within him, and the room's tension was intense. His rebellion shocked her, demanding answers in that opulent setting. Austin's realization led him to confront his mother, questioning her lifelong dictates and the emptiness they led to. Austin's voice remained firm yet tinged with sorrow as he spoke, saying he had lost me and explained the sacrifices he made for our family's legacy. He asked what it was all worth. A mansion and a business, without anyone to enjoy them with. His mother set down her wine glass with a decisive clink, her stare icy, reminding him he possessed all that one could desire: power, wealth, respect. She questioned if he truly doubted the choices made for his future. Austin, shaking with pent-up anger, denied that the decisions were ever his own, but always hers. Explaining his life had been defined by living up to her standards and maintaining their family's reputation. Despite that, he was left with a hollow existence, realizing nothing meaningful belonged to him. This confrontation had blossomed in ways he hadn't foreseen. For years, he dared not question nor oppose his mother. But losing me and our children brought an undeniable shift. Reality hit him hard. Wealth wasn't fulfilling, nor could the family legacy suffice to fill the emptiness. His mother, rigid and adamant, insisted I had dragged him down and cautioned against self-deception, dismissing me as an obstruction, referring to our children as unnecessary burdens. She argued he acted for his greatest good. I imagined Austin, frustrated and saddened, at a loss for words over his mother's indifference about her grandchildren. It seemed she misunderstood familial love, reducing everything to an uncluttered image. Austin, grit teeth and clenching fists, reminded her the burdens were his children whom she urged him to forsake. Silence lingered, deep and haunting. Understanding dawned upon him. His life was spent in his mother's shadow, now left with echoes of what could have been. Accepting he'd lost what truly mattered, he faced his mother one last time. His voice clear and resolute, announcing he would leave behind this hollow life to pursue his own path. Although the future was uncertain, his resolve to discontinue living amidst deceit was stronger. His mother's confusion and scorn met his departure, undeniable. As he exited the mansion, I later learned he felt a confusing blend of relief and fear, the path to redemption daunting and isolating. Yet, for the first time, he made a choice for himself, not dictated by family or inheritance. The cool dawn embraced him as he stepped into the garden, met the starry sky, and exhaled deeply, the cost of heritage steep but necessary to rectify his life, acknowledging he'd changed irrevocably. The next morning, sunlight poured through my curtains, enveloping my room in a golden glow. My children played blissfully, their laughter harmonizing the air, a natural balance restored. I watched, sipping my coffee, aware this peace wasn't always present but hard-earned. Austin's conflict was no longer burdensome, rather affirmation that I was no longer shackled by the past. The woman who doubted moving forward without him had evolved. My path was self-made, thriving, not merely surviving. As I observed my children, their vitality was contagious. Each day teaching them anew, they, in turn, taught me about unconditional love. Their existence my motivation, my strength. The business successes and personal triumphs were crafted for them. My little miracles, a testament to the consuming love driving us. That morning, I prepared for an important meeting, an opportunity to expand my brand to a new city, once a distant dream now tangible. The brand that sprouted from my living room had flourished beyond contemplation. I felt prepared to embrace what lay ahead. Leaving my children with a trusted neighbor, I set off. I reminisced about Austin, our conversation last night hinting at his self-realization. While bygone pain lingered, it no longer stung, a change represented, a weight acknowledged. Yet, unlike Austin, I had already chosen my path, one excluding him. I had traveled too far to retrace steps. My life, though imperfect, was mine. Arriving at the office calm and composed, discussing the brand's future, realization dawned. I hadn't just cultivated a business, but a contented, fulfilled life. I'd become a strong, independent mother, valuing every challenge that led me here. After the meeting concluded with satisfied approval, my Little Miracles was poised for expansion. I was primed for the future, beyond commercial triumph. My pride stemmed from presenting myself as a role model for my children, a beacon of determination and courage. They wouldn't be left with empty lessons, but by a mother who transformed adversities into personal growth. As I returned home, embraced by the sound of my children's laughter, it affirmed I possessed all needed, love-drenched home. The fulfillment, the essence of life's true value. Kneeling, I held my children close, their warmth replacing old voids. Reflecting on my past, it was not nostalgia but gratitude. The past been my mentor, yet the future was mine to sculpt. As the day waned, golden light dissipated softly, my children's play echoing joy. I faced the future with a steadiness born from surmounting life's tribulations, a vibrant path of opportunities and love awaited. Achieving dreams, the future called eagerly, demanding embrace. This is my tale of resilience and triumph over adversity. If this story of overcoming adversity resonated with you, please subscribe for more heartwarming narratives. Your feedback is valued, and sharing stories that inspire fills me with purpose.